The Empire had conquered 17 star systems. They had burned worlds, enslaved billions, and never once faced a species that could stop them. Their warships moved through the galaxy like a disease, and wherever they went, civilizations fell. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the small blue planet below. Earth, a primitive world filled with creatures who had barely left their own atmosphere. This would be easy. The humans had no idea what was coming. Their space programs were jokes. Their weapons were toys. Had studied their broadcasts for years. He knew about their wars, their divisions, their weaknesses. They fought each other over lines drawn on maps. They killed each other over the color of their skin. Such a species would crumble the moment his forces landed. But was smart. He would not attack Earth directly. Not yet. First, he would take their moon. Luna, the humans called it, a dead rock with no atmosphere and no defenses. From there, his forces could watch the planet below and plan the perfect invasion. The humans would see the ships on their moon and know that resistance was useless. Fear would break them before the first shot was fired. The invasion fleet dropped from hyperspace on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. 300 warships surrounded Luna like a metal cloud. The humans on Earth saw them immediately. Their satellites picked up the massive energy signatures. Their radio telescopes heard the alien communications. Panic spread across the planet within hours. World leaders held emergency meetings. Military commanders shouted at each other. Some called for peace. Others demanded war. But what could they do? Their rockets took days to reach the moon. They had weapons that could destroy cities from orbit. Humanity was helpless and everyone knew it. Watched the chaos on Earth with satisfaction. He ordered his ground forces to land on the lunar surface. Thousands of soldiers in armored suits touched down near the South Pole. They carried scanners and weapons and construction equipment. The plan was simple. Build a base, establish dominance, then slowly crush the human spirit until surrender was the only option. Private was one of the first soldiers to walk on the moon. He was young and eager to prove himself. The military had promised him glory and honor. All he had to do was help conquer a primitive world. Easy credits, his commander had said. Nothing to worry about. Moved across the gray dust with his squad. The moon was silent. No wind, no sound. Just endless gray plains and distant mountains. The stars above were sharp and cold. Earth hung in the sky like a blue jewel, beautiful and doomed. His scanner beeped, stopped and looked at the reading. Something was beneath the surface, something large. He called his squad leader over and showed him the display. The officer frowned. The readings made no sense. There was a structure underground, a massive structure. It was at least 3 kilometers long and made of materials the scanner could not identify. They reported the discovery to Commander. He was curious but not concerned. Perhaps the humans had built some kind of secret base. It would make the conquest more interesting. He ordered a team to investigate and continued with his invasion plans. The drilling began that night. Engineers set up plasma drills and cut through the lunar rock. The deeper they went, the stranger the readings became. The structure below was old, incredibly old. The geological surveys suggested it had been buried for at least 60,000 years, long before humans existed, long before any known civilization in the galaxy. Received this report and felt the first cold touch of fear. 60,000 years. The Empire was only 8,000 years old. What had built something so massive so long ago? And why was it buried on this worthless moon? He should have stopped the drilling. He should have packed up his forces and left, but had never retreated in his life. His pride would not allow it. He ordered his engineers to continue. Whatever was down there, he would claim it for the Empire. They broke through the final layer of rock at midnight. Below them was a chamber so vast that their lights could not reach the walls, and in the center of that chamber was a machine. It was shaped like nothing they had ever seen. Curves and angles that seemed to shift when you looked at them. A surface that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. And it was huge. 3 kilometers of impossible engineering, sleeping in the dark for longer than recorded history. The moment the lights touched it, something changed. Deep within the machine, systems that had been dormant for 60 began to wake. Power flowed through circuits made of materials that did not exist in nature. A mind that was not quite alive but not quite dead started to think again. The first sign of trouble was the earthquakes. The entire moon shook. Soldiers stumbled and fell. Equipment crashed to the ground. Then the chamber began to glow. Soft blue light pulsed from the machine like a heartbeat. Private was running when the machine rose from the ground. It tore through the lunar surface like it was paper. Dust and rock exploded into the black sky. Looked up and saw something that broke his understanding of the universe. The machine was standing now, and it was looking at the fleet with what could only be described as anger. Commander stared at and forgot how to breathe. The thing was enormous. It made his flagship look like a child's toy, and it was moving toward them with terrible purpose. He screamed orders at his crew. Fire everything. Destroy it. Kill it now. 300 warships opened fire at once. Plasma beams and nuclear missiles and kinetic rounds filled the space between the fleet and the machine. The firepower was enough to crack a planet. It was enough to burn a star. And it did nothing. The machine walked through the barrage like it was walking through rain. Energy weapons splashed against its surface and vanished. Missiles exploded and left no mark. They had conquered 17 star systems, and their greatest weapons were meaningless. Then the machine fired back. A single beam of light touched the flagship, just touched it, and the flagship ceased to exist. Not exploded, not destroyed, simply erased from reality. One moment Commander was screaming orders. The next moment he was nothing. The machine turned to the rest of the fleet. It moved with the patience of something that had all the time in the universe. One by one, it erased the ships. Some tried to run. Their engines burned at maximum power, but they could not escape. The machine reached across space and deleted them from existence. The entire invasion fleet died in less than an hour. 300 warships and over 50,000 soldiers. Gone. Wiped away like dust from a window. On Earth, humans watched in stunned silence. Their satellites showed them everything. They saw the machine rise. They saw it destroy the alien fleet. They saw it stand alone on the lunar surface, a guardian that had waited 60,000 years for this moment. Scientists worked frantically to understand what they were seeing. The machine was not human-made. That was obvious. But where had it come from? Who had built it? And why had it protected Earth? The answers came 3 days later. The machine sent a transmission, not in radio waves or light, but directly into the minds of every human on Earth. Billions of people heard the same words at the same moment. The message was simple. Long ago, before humans existed, a race of beings had walked the stars. They were wise and peaceful, and they loved the universe they lived in. But they knew that someday they would be gone. Evolution would change them. Time would erase them. And the galaxy would forget they ever existed. So they built guardians, machines designed to protect young species, machines hidden on moons and asteroids throughout the galaxy, waiting, watching, ready to defend those who could not yet defend themselves. Earth had always been special. The beings had seen something in this world, potential, promise, the spark of greatness in creatures that had not yet learned to walk upright. So they buried a guardian beneath Luna and programmed it to wait. Wait until humanity was threatened. Wait until they truly needed protection. The machine had one more message. It told humanity that the time for protection was ending. The Guardian would remain for one more century, 100 years. In that time, humanity would need to learn, to grow, to become strong enough to protect themselves. The machine would teach them. It would share knowledge that would push human technology forward by thousands of years. But after the century was over, the Guardian would sleep again, and humanity would face the galaxy alone. The world changed after that day. Nations that had fought for generations put down their weapons. Scientists from every country worked together. Factories that once built bombs now built starships. Humanity had been given a gift and a warning. They would not waste either. The empire collapsed within a decade. Word of their defeat spread through the galaxy. A primitive species had destroyed the greatest military force in known space. Other empires took notice. Other species began to fear the small blue world with the sleeping guardian. And humanity kept building. They reached Mars within 5 years, Jupiter within 10. By the end of the century, human colonies dotted a dozen star systems. Human warships patrolled the borders of their new territory. Human soldiers trained to defend their species against any threat. On the last day of the 100th year, the Guardian sent one final message. It said that humanity had exceeded every expectation. They had grown faster than any species the ancient builders had ever seen. They were ready. Then the Guardian closed its eyes and returned to its long sleep. It would not wake again unless humanity faced extinction. But everyone knew that day would never come. The humans had learned their lessons well. They were no longer the primitive creatures they had tried to conquer. They were warriors, explorers, builders. They were humanity, and the galaxy would never forget them. Years later, when human ships met alien traders at the edge of known space, the aliens always asked the same question. Why had the ancient builders chosen Earth? Why had they left a guardian for such a small and simple world? The human captains always smiled when they heard this question. They did not know the answer. Perhaps no one ever would. But they liked to think that the ancient builders had seen something special in their ancestors, something worth protecting, something worth saving. And now it was humanity's turn to do the same. They began building their own guardians, machines hidden throughout the galaxy, watching over young species, waiting, ready to defend those who could not yet defend themselves. The cycle continued. The gift passed from one civilization to the next, and somewhere deep beneath Luna, the ancient guardian slept peacefully, dreaming of the day when the stars would be filled with beings who chose protection over conquest, hope over fear, and love over war. That was the true victory, not the battle, not the destruction of the fleet. The true victory was what came after, a humanity united, a galaxy changed, a future worth fighting for. And it all started on a Tuesday morning, when the wrong empire invaded the wrong moon and woke something they never should have disturbed.